Do you remember where you were when you were first told or when it was first announced that Eazy-E passed away?
Damn. I, I can't recall. I want to say I was at home because I always had a musical setting with me. So if I wasn't in the studio, I was at home with a studio setting. What year? Do you remember the
I
year?
want to say it was either 94 or 95 because it's weird because Eazy-E, if I got the years wrong,
Hmm.
you guys correct me on the comments, but I know these three legends passed back to back. It was if Easy was 94, then Pac was next, 95, and then Biggie was 96.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, 96. So,
Wow.
and then Biggie was, so they all died back to back.
Yes.
I had just pulled up to the studio in Alhambra, Steve Yano studio, and I remember my friend Big Jazz had just pulled up, and we turned it on, and Theo announced it.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
So as you said, Theo, I know exactly where I was, man. I was in my first home, and I was in Northridge, and in my home studio setting, and actually listening to the radio
yeah,
because Quake was on there. That's one of my close friends and guys I like. That contribute great things to this West Coast or just music. Period. So to hear that. Was devastating because, of course, whoever had their relationships or memorable moments with him, of course, I'm pretty sure it was heartfelt and hit,
yeah,
especially with that disease. You never know how to feel about it till it hit home, and it hit home because we was family and we was friends with him. So it felt like, a devastating blow. Trying to understand why it happened. It just made me think about a lot of things. Who's close to him? Where do we go from now? How do they feel about us? The whole world is looking. We've been already uh, been dealt such a bad hand in the perception about who we are on the West Coast.
yeah,
And not to judge, everybody has been in a dark or promiscuous situation and not on top of their relationships with whoever they're dealing with. But I was really concerned about how they was going to look at it as a whole on our side of the coast when
right.
to hear that about him. So
You know, when I heard it, they played Boys in the Hood right after, and I told my boy Jazz because we were going to work on his record. I said,
Jazzy D.
no, his
Oh
name's
no,
Big Jazz. I was
Big Jazz.
introduced.
Okay,
Yeah, I was introduced to him by High C, and
okay.
I told him, "Hey man, do me a favor. Go inside. Give me a few moments." And I'll be honest with you, I cried, man, because Eazy-E would come to my house when we did the mixtapes.
Wow.
So he would all sign autographs for my little sister, and I would be in the studio audio achievements when they were doing their records. So I
Wow.
had a pretty good relationship with him. But yeah, I would say that one really hit hard.
Yes.
The next one is this:
Hmm.
where were you when you found out or they announced that Pac had passed? Tupac.
When they announced that Pac passed, I was with Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
It was me, Snoop. I said before early on, me, Snoop, Salt and Pepper, Heavy D, rest in peace, Dave Aaron, which is Snoop Dogg's engineer, who actually mixed the first East Siders album. Incredible human being and engineer, taught me so fucking much. And DJ Pooh, and
Okay.
we was at Larrabee West.
Larrabee. I'm trying to remember
That's
where I
on
hear that name.
Santa Monica, close to Doheny.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it's
Wow.
at. Where all the
I haven't heard that name in
weirdos are
years.
up
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it's
Now, where were you when you heard Biggie?
man. Can I tell you a story, man?
Go ahead, share with us, man. Roadium Radio exclusive, man. Share with us.
I'm working with Dub C and CJ Mack. I do this record called Ends, which is a remake of Friends from the Houdini, legendary rap group from the East Coast. I take a break. I step outside. I can hear the joy and happiness and clowning of Biggie and Sean Puffy Combs walking up the driveway of Skips to go produce a record in the same room where I did my hits and Quick did his hits at. They went to the back room where the API is. I was in the front with the SSL with them, and I always wanted to work with Biggie, and we flipped Mr. Big Stuff. And the way the sound is, and it being a hell of a oldie like that, knowing that the world would have loved that if they would have heard Battlecat and Biggie together flipping Mr. Big Stuff. And 2 days later, he was deceased, bro.
Wow.
So, but to hear his joy and happiness and him clowning, walking up that driveway. Now, this was a heated situation because Pac is already gone. This is when he came out here to be out here. So he was doing studio work. He was going to the radio stations, and he was in recording studios as well. He was getting the whole experience of being in Cali, and so it blew my mind. It hurt big time because his persona and choice of words and how he sounded over music felt like that was my brother from another mother. Felt like, you know, he represented for cats who was real big, heavy set or whatnot. He just had a family in your living room vibe about him, man, and his contribution. So, but the next couple of days when I could have been home, but
Okay.
that experience beforehand blew my mind, man. I was hurt as fuck, and I couldn't understand all this shit jumping off with both legends like that. I work with them both,
Okay.
indirect, because of the do Snoop. Snoop gave me the opportunity to do some things, and we got the Biggie family and the state to approve of his lyrics and stuff to be done. We did LAX, so I got LAX with Biggie and Sean Puffy Combs or Big Diddy over a classic record with me and Ice Cube and Snoop.
Okay. Where were you when it was announced Nate Dogg had passed?
Damn, man, you hitting hard. I don't know exactly where I was. I know I was doing a lot of fucking work with Snoopy.
Okay. Okay.
We're talking about the 213. We're talking about. I think he could have been over one of my records on the East Siders. We did a lot of work. I did work on his records as well. That hurt big time. That was our Smokey Robinson. That was our Marvin Gaye of a voice for us. The best crooner in hip hop I ever heard, man. Just
Agreed.
amazing to see all the body of work that he did, and a lot of his performance and contribution brought different coasts together, the South and the East together with the West behind his contribution.
Now, my next question is if you have to take your time, because I know that this one was just recent, and I see you post a lot of stuff on your Instagram about this one individual. Where were you when you first heard of Nipsey's passing?
At home, and my mother and my child called first, told me it's not safe. I was close to where he was, and my brother called me right after and said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Are you hearing what I'm hearing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I heard." And I almost tore my damn studio up. I was doing shit everywhere. I stopped for a moment. I ran to the living room, tell my wife what had happened. Was just at Snoop Dogg's studio. 3 to 4 days before, we talked on FaceTime about me being more instrumental in producing with him. It was a funny moment where I was talking to his engineer, and he Nipsey overheard me talking to him, so he comes and he started imitating me, and I laughed a little bit, and I said, "Who is that, Nips?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Right," you know how he sound. Um, it was a beautiful expression to hear him, and I told him congratulations on everything going and the new studio built. And he said, "Yeah, I need you in here, big homie. I love you." And that was the last time I heard from him, because I was trying to get some information to take the software I was using at the time, and his engineer is the one who installed it, so he was a great guy that helped me with that. But I still was trying to get my mind off of it by going to another location that was close by, 2 blocks over from the store. I'm feeling some type of way, trying to keep my mind off of it so I won't be so dark. I didn't want to call no homies or none of that, nobody. It was a blurry moment. He wasn't deceased yet, but by the time we was getting ready to leave from my family's house, which was 2 blocks from where he was, they confirmed that he was deceased, and that shit just like blew my mind back, because we're talking about someone whose imagination was beyond ours, you know, his dreams and goals, and he wasn't a selfish man. So for someone to put his life on the line for greatness, like information, education, and opportunity, that's amazing, man. It would just remind me of Martin Luther King or any other leader. He really was a leader. The fact that he was taking chances. I mean, he dealt with people who didn't love him in the hood, in other places, but he ignored all that. That didn't stop him, man. He just did some unique things I didn't know until after his death, that he went and caught the bus to different neighborhoods to talk to different Crips and Bloods to try to come together. And he had something to give that would eventually change the narrative in their lives. And some of us is still holding on to what that was that he gave us, and doing our part, and which inspired me and Snoopy to do the record that we did. I had the record in the can for a long time, and the One Blood, One Cuz. But when I seen on Instagram that Game, Snoop, and Dre was together, I hurry up and hit his fucking phone to pick up so I can get them to hear it and get Game or anyone else that felt like if they was ready to perform, because they was already playing a beautiful record that they had. It didn't happen, and I finally got a chance to talk to Snoopy, and Snoop was like, "Cat, don't trip, don't feel like I'm being selfish because I want to take the song to the head, but because of my experience with the streets, both sides, the essays, the whole 9 yards, everything about this shit, I'm going to have something to say that I think all of us would be very grateful on him speaking on Nipsey." So it happened.
So, awesome, man.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for sharing. I know it hurts and it means a lot, man. And I wasn't trying to touch on it, but you know what? I felt that it was needed, because I think it's important for people at times to see you away from the music and to see your heart, to see who you really are inside, you know?
Yeah, which is really Kevin, because Battlecat is a brand, and I understand that when people don't separate the two, you don't see who's Kevin or who's, you think the person is Battlecat, and it's not. I'm just the face brand for Kevin, and sometimes, for Battlecat, and sometimes I'm disappointed in Battlecat too, and I want a lot of things for him too, better, than what has occurred for him. So I just made sure that Kevin is in tune and intact, so he can put the right healthy shit behind the brand and the leader, and or wherever you want to call me, ambassador or the king or this or that. Is if I'm not in tune as a person, it will affect the brand. And that's one thing I don't want to do. So that was part of why I was quiet for a while too, because I needed to be a better man, a father, a husband, friend, brother, all that. And that take a lot of work. You have to leave from this industry to be all that you can be and find a new burst of energy to continue your legacy or your purpose. So I appreciate
Awesome.
you having me on this show to do so. And it's with the Brown card, and it's I couldn't have picked a better family to do it with at this time in my life, because that's what I've been doing, is grooming and retooling myself to come back to the industry and finish what I started.
Awesome, awesome. On the same note, the only thing I know is what I hear on social media that the person responsible for Nipsey's passing, has this guy been sentenced? Does anybody know anything of what's going on with him?
Yeah, you. I'm looking for the information like you looking for it,
Okay,
and we all are not privy, because that's how a case like that's so high profile, so controversial. The whole thing, everything about it is mysterious. It's strange. It's scary, because it's revealing some information about different walks of life that's involved in that. I don't want to say who those entities are,
okay,
but everyone is smart and know what this is and who's all involved in it and making it go, or making or bringing some answers to it. If they care to want to do the right thing, they can. If they would try to put this thing under the rug, we know what the consequences is when you don't be brutally honest and careful with approaching that situation. So I just pray that all my people, all creeds and color, really take another look at what's going on and educate yourself and live your life, and don't be so concerned and so quick to put your own judgment on anything that's being said and how it's going to come out. Because I'm watching all these different social media and podcasts, different people, personalities saying what they're saying, and they bringing some interesting things to the table, because in the art of being a detective, we're actually seeing before our own eyes how wise and unique people can be in gathering their own information, being so fucking tenacious or nosy, as my wife would say. But until the facts is what it is, and the last say so is going to be what it is. I mean, I just pray that everybody just be at peace and whole with themselves, no matter what the outcome is.
awesome, awesome.